I'm Heidi with Heavenly Minded Home, and today, kind of continuing on this topic of just motherhood and parenting, I want to talk with you guys about my 5 top tips for having kids that get along. So come join me. Let's share all the things that we can start implementing right here today to improve the sibling relationships in our home.
So we were playing for a while and then Olivia just started finding a lot of worms.
So now you guys are hunting worms?
I'll show you where she's finding them.
Ooh. Oh wow, the dogs chewed up that and you're filling it up with what? Let me see. Can I look so I can get... Oh my goodness, look at all those worms. So you guys are worm hunting?
Yeah. It sounds like grub.
Did your sister do your hair for you, Bumby? It looks nice, Gigi.
That's not a worm.
Found a yucky grub?
Yeah,
I don't like them. Oh, it's right there, yeah.
Is it nice? Does it nice? Does it bite?
Yeah, I don't think they bite. They're just gross. Chickens like to eat them, though.
Yeah. No, I'm not going to eat them. So don't put it with the worms, Icky.
It even boo-boo snake.
Little square.
Your nose is so muddy, boo-boo.
What about Joey?
Chickens are up looking for worms, too, I think. Betty, you are all sorts of muddy. You're having fun, huh? You guys having fun out here enjoying this nice weather? Mm-hmm. Getting a little toasty? You want to put on a t-shirt instead of a sweater? There you go.
I know. Come here.
I don't know if Gigi wants her cute little bunny in there with the worms.
Yeah. Rabbit.
Rabbits don't ribbit.
Yeah, they do.
I think that's frogs. Saying hi to the worms?
What does...
I don't really think bunnies make many noises.
Hey, you just made a hole, you little toad.
Get your worm back in there.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Bad worms. You guys are bad worms.
No escaping, she says. I was trying to see him. Open. No escaping, little worms. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I'm just saving you from bad...
All right, you do have to let him out a little later, okay? You can't keep him in there forever. All right, Jack, Jerry, keep an eye on her.
Saving them.
Okay.
I'm saving them and also, what's those things called?
Friends, I'm so glad you guys are here to hang out with us today. I hope you guys have been enjoying our daily videos this week talking about just motherhood and parenting in general. Of course, you guys can go to this playlist right here if you want to see what's been going on this week and all throughout our Vlog 365 challenge this year. Yes, we have had videos out every single day this year. So I pray that they can be a blessing and an encouragement to you and your family. Our goal here in all of this that we do with Heavenly Minded Home is to just encourage families all around the world to prioritize what's important and what matters, our relationships with one another, creating nurturing homes, truly training our children up to the glory of God and living heavenly minded in all that we do. So I'm so glad that you guys are here. So I know a big question that comes up, especially when you have more than one child, right? So often we run into this, how do we get our kids to get along? They're bickering, they're fighting. Maybe you're just concerned overall about your children's sibling relationships. I know for us, we do have 4 kids and they range in ages from 18 to 5. And I have 2 younger brothers and we've always been very, very close. My husband is the youngest of 5. Yep, youngest of 5. And his siblings don't get along at all. They're a hot mess. It's a total disaster. And so him and I have been together for 22 years and him just seeing how my relationship with my brothers has always been versus what he always had, we were determined with our kids that sibling relationships was going to be a big deal. That was going to be an area that we really focused on. We really made that a priority in our home because of experiences, especially he had gone through and seeing that. And so these, I would think, are the top 5 things that we have focused on to really make sure that our kids have strong relationships with one another. And I will say that our kids are not perfect in any way, shape, or form. We have bickering that goes on in our house. We have bad attitudes that exist. We absolutely deal with those things. Our kids are normal kids. We are all sinful, fallen humans that all need the grace of God to get us through this life. And so our kids are not perfect. I have to stop and split up things as we go, and we have to do that. But we make it a priority to work on these things, to address these issues, and to improve them. And that's the difference. Yes, we're all gonna have issues. We're all gonna run into things. That happens. But I think it's how we go about it and how we prioritize it that makes a big difference. So these are the things that we do. I think our kids work really hard at this. I think they have amazing relationships. And it's because of doing these very specific things. If you want to see this improve and you want to see the sibling relationships improve in your family, the first thing you have to do is to prioritize sibling relationships. Might sound simple and kind of silly, but it really is a big deal. So often with so many families that we talk to that they're concerned about their kids' relationships with one another. They're always bickering, they're always fighting, they're always dealing with these different things, and they're asking us, how do you discipline? How do you go about this? And kind of our answer is, well, first and foremost, we prioritize their relationships with one another. It's that switch there that makes a big impact. When you're saying, hey, it is important for you guys to bond, for you guys to grow in your relationship. When you set that priority, you set that shift for your household, that in and of itself is going to make a big difference. For us in our home, that means that our energy and focus goes into helping them, equipping them, correcting them, encouraging them in their relationships. It means that we do not focus on relationships outside of the home, even if it's through some sort of like electronic communication or something like that. But focus does not go on relationships outside of the home, other family, friendships, sports, hobbies, activities, anything like that. If our inner home relationships are struggling, if I am seeing, we have problems that we go through in our home too, okay? I can look at like my 3 girls. Certain relationships are a lot easier within the sisters. Other sisters kind of struggle with one another, and we have to work on that. So I am not at all going to give the green flag to my kids going out and pursuing other relationships, be it time with family, be it things with other friends, if at home work needs to be done. Our home relationships come first. That is the priority, and everything that we do is going to go through that kind of lens before we focus on something else. So first and foremost, if you want to see sibling relationships improve, you have to make them a priority in your home. Now, the second thing, it's not that we have a ton of rules or things like that in our house, but what we do have is zero tolerance for un-Christ-like behavior. If the way we are treating one another, the way we're acting, the whatever, if you cannot reconcile that biblically, then it doesn't belong in our home. Now, we all have bad days. We all mess up, right? We all sin and fall short of the glory of God, absolutely. And we're going to give grace in that, but we are absolutely always going to point it back to, what does Scripture say? How do we behave? How do we talk? How do we treat one another? How do we go about these things? We're going to search the Scriptures. We're going to talk about that, and that is absolutely our line for how we behave. We all fall short of it, right? None of us are perfect. But we constantly have to point that back when I see attitudes coming out, when I see unfair treatment of a sibling, when we see people not wanting to share or not wanting to do for their siblings. We always have to point it back to that, to, hey, that's not okay. That is absolutely not okay. You have to look to Christ's example for how we go about every relationship in our life. Are you selfless above all? Are you loving? Are you encouraging? Are you lifting up your siblings or tearing them down? And that is the line in which we weigh everything. So if we're seeing some of this behavior going on in our house, we have a no-go zone. Zero tolerance for anything like that. Again, it's not always perfect, and it doesn't mean it gets fixed immediately, but that's the bar. That's where it's set. How does Christ say we treat one another? And so we then have to figure out as parents, right? We then have to say, okay, you have broken our line here, right? You've gone past that. You're in no tolerance zone. What's causing this? What's the root of why you are treating your sibling poorly, or you're thinking of yourself first, or you're just, you two are getting along, but you're kind of ostracizing this one. We have to figure out what that is and what that root cause is, so that we can address it. But zero tolerance for unchristlike behavior, it's not allowed in our house. It's not gonna fly. It's not gonna happen. That has to be a hard line that we stick strongly and firmly to. The third point here is to foster their sibling relationships as the number one friendships in their lives. I cannot say this enough, especially as our kids get older. I think this is super simple to do when our kids are young, but I know for us, even our kids, this fall, 50% of our children will be teenagers. So we're kind of moving up into that next phase, but making sure that the number one friendship that's fostered in their life is that with their siblings. I see so often such a push for kids to make friends, right? Focusing on friendships. And there's nothing wrong with having friendships, okay? Friendships are fantastic. I cherish my friendships, right? And there's a lot that they learn through those relationships that are with other families, right? People that do things differently, that you're not kind of, being able to somewhat control every aspect of. There's plenty to be said there, yes, but is the number one friendship that your child is fostering with somebody outside of the home, or right here, starting off at home with their siblings? And so making sure that you kind of, following point one with prioritizing this, making sure that that's where their focus is. Now, my kids, as they're getting older, they do have friends outside of the home. We have some families that we're very close with through, our church family or different things that, yes, they do have special friendships there that they get to enjoy, and that's wonderful. There's nothing wrong with that. But I never want it to get to a point that the number one friendship they're fostering is one outside of the home instead of those with their siblings. And so it kind of goes like this. It's keeping an eye on these things, right? Like I said, our home relationships kind of faltering because you're really focused over here. We've kind of found those seasons where all of a sudden, a friendship with this person is really growing, and you're kind of pushing your siblings back because you want to focus on this over here. That's not okay. You love and serve and focus on this friendship first before you go. Now, if you feel like you can add in that, that's great, but you don't want to lose that balance. And it's tricky, it's hard, even as adults, we don't always get it right. But I want to be helping my kids out and helping them say, hey, this is getting off balance. You need to cut back on this outside relationship and make sure you rebalance this first. Helping our kids to understand, hey, when you only are wanting to play with this friend, you're making your sister or brother feel sad. They miss you. You're their friend, and they don't want to lose that special bond that you have. And so helping our kids to balance that, to keep the priority on the friendships at home first, and then only adding stuff in as they can balance, as they can figure it out. Now, the fourth point that I think is so important, and it doesn't matter how old your kids are. This isn't just for the little kids. I would say this is important even up into adulthood, but to encourage playtime together is huge for building these sibling relationships. The importance of just having that time to play together and to bond is so special regardless of how old your kids are. Our kids, playing outside, playing inside with different toys, Legos, art, playing video games together. We're really big. We're specific over what video games our kids can play, but our pretty much across the board rule is if it's something that you're doing together, we're all for it. That sounds great. Even my husband will come in and join in with them. Board games are another great one. Just making sure that there's lots of focused open time, like literally focus on having open time in your days consistently for your kids to just play, right? We have kind of our windows when we're using screens, or we can be working on independent projects or doing independent things. And then there's hard times where all of that gets shut off, and I don't care what you're doing, just go do it together, and allowing them to learn to problem solve, to work things out. As our kids are getting older, I'm noticing that less and less do I need to interfere with the things that they're doing. So even when they do come across little squibbles and little, hey, so-and-so, I say, hey, you guys go work it out. You guys go fix that among yourselves. If you really need me, then come back and get me. But encouraging them to bond, to work these things out, to help one another and grow in their relationships. It's just so important to have that time of just play. I mean, even our 18-year-old will play with the 5-year-old. The other day was the cutest thing in the whole wide world. I walk into the kitchen and the 18-year-old and the 5-year-old, literally our oldest and youngest, are out on the trampoline together, just having a blast, seeing their little relationships, that time that we just have open-ended, go play. That's what we're doing right now, is so important in strengthening their relationships with one another. And the fifth thing that I would really, really encourage is just focus on the positives, not the negatives. Maybe in your home, you're really struggling with the kids' relationships with one another. Maybe there's a lot of bickering. Maybe they only want to go be with their friends and they're not doing anything with their siblings. Maybe this is a really big shift that you need to make in your house, where you need to cut off outside relationships and start actually focusing on the relationships within the home. Start getting to the root, get past the bad attitudes, get past all of that, and start focusing on that just inner home relationships with one another. And I think we can be quick a lot of times to just point out the negatives. Stop fighting with your sister. Stop doing this. Stop yelling at your brother. Stop doing, we want to focus on all that bad stuff with it. And I think that just continues to create that bad atmosphere at home, where if instead you say, hey, I really liked how you helped, your brother out with that. Thank you. That was really nice. You guys really like playing this game. Let's do this together. Finding any little shred of positive and focusing on that instead of just constantly nitpicking out the negatives can be a huge just shift in focus for the whole family, and can really be an encouragement to your children to, hey, they might not even notice it at first, but when you're always picking out the bad, I feel like the bad's what gets focused on. But when you start kind of encouraging the good, we like that positive feedback, right? We all do. And so you're going to start to see more of those little positives starting to exist, starting to build, starting to grow. And so it can be difficult. I know it's easy to focus on the negative, but if you try to just find all the little silver linings and things within your children and their relationships with one another, focus on those, encourage those, and you will start to see them in time really blossom and grow. So those there would be my top 5 tips for really encouraging the relationships between your children to grow. It can be so difficult, especially if you're starting in a place where outside friends are the focus, your kids are always bickering, things are really just off balance. But if you start implementing these things, you can start today. A lot of prayer, a lot of grace, start implementing these different steps, and you will start seeing improvements. The longer you've been doing it a different way, of course, the longer it can take, but don't give up. Making sure that our home relationships are properly balanced and in the right prioritized space is so very important. And I think especially in a world that is so focused on everything outside of the home, to start to bring things back in here, put them in order in the way that God designed the system to work for all of us, you're going to see such great improvements. It is so amazing to have close sibling relationships, to have a home where people do get along and they want to be together. It seems like a small idea, but it's amazing the impact that that can really have, not only on the family as a whole, but on every single one of you as individuals. So I pray that this can be a blessing and an encouragement to you guys. I know it is so huge for our family. We love it so much. And it truly, we'll run into other families where the siblings want nothing to do with each other, and it just makes our kids so sad because they do cherish how close they are with one another. And so it really does have a big impact. So anyways, I could go on about that probably for days, but I won't. If you guys want something else to watch, might I recommend this video right here. And if you guys want to tap that subscription button before you leave, turn on the little bell notifications, and you'll see our videos that come out every single day. I'll see you guys right back here tomorrow. Bye, friends.